Let's start with this. It's a fantastic collector's edition Sherlock Holmes. It's the complete Sherlock Holmes by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and I am lucky enough to have this leather-bound edition in my collection thanks to Cool School, my favorite bookstore in Delhi, Gurgaon, NCR, and probably in the whole of the country. I wanted to start with this was because it's important to talk about this before I can talk about anything else. Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote this character, this brilliant character, in 1887. Yes, that's when he created Sherlock Holmes. And the genius of that man to create a consulting detective back in 1887. Just absorb that information, because it also got to me the first time I understood it all. And then when I got this and I reread all his works, it really got to me that how he wrote this character back in 1887, a detective who is into forensic science and deductive reasoning. The most powerful thing about this writing and this character, and why it's called a classic, why any classic is called a classic, is because it's timeless, right? Classics are timeless, and this is the epitome of classic literature. This is the most favorite thing in the world for me that I've read, and it still holds true. You pick up this character, you pick up this setting, and if you're true to the core of what Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote, then you're gonna have a winning piece in your hand. You can take this character and move it in the hands of Guy Ritchie, it will be successful. You can take this character and modernize it to the extent that the Sherlock Holmes in that Googles up information and it'll blow everyone off. And you can take the same character, put him in New York, change the gender of the second most popular character in the series, and it'll still become popular. And you can take this character, bring him to the 1990s Kolkata in India, and you would still have a winner in your hands. I am talking about a TV series called Shekhar Home on Jio Cinema. Shekhar Home is a surprisingly good TV series. It's short, 6 episodes, very tight. I use the word surprising because as soon as I saw the name, I knew that it's going to be based on Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's work. I wasn't sure how it's going to land and would they be true to the core of the material. Aniruddha Guha is credited as the creator of Shekhar Home, and Aniruddha Guha as well as Srijit Mukherjee share the writing credits on the show. And let me say this, they have done a fabulous job of taking this work and adapting it to Indian sensibilities, to the Kolkata of 1990s, and creating stories which are gonna be really entertaining for a large portion of the population. Set in 1990s Kolkata, in a small town called Lonpur, is Shekhar Home, played brilliantly by KK Menon. He's living as a paying guest, no surprise, and he has a Mrs. H who's the caretaker and the owner of the place. From the first episode itself, he gets a roommate who is a war veteran doctor. Yes, if you're familiar with the work, then you know that this war veteran doctor is none other than a character based on Dr. John Watson. In this case, it's Jayvrat, played by Ranvir Shorey. The setup is delightful and cute and very intriguing. So as soon as the show starts, from the first episode itself, you are pulled into this world. There are a lot of things that I love in this show, but right up there at the very top is KK Menon. You cannot ignore how good he is in this show. And the best part about his performance is that he's not trying to emulate any of the past Sherlocks that have been so popular. And he brings in his own peculiarities and his own nuances, which are beautiful to watch. There are a couple of very adorable tells or triggers that he has as Shekhar Home. One of them is this laugh that he has, with almost a giggle of sorts, which is a sarcastic giggle. The character like this, it is so easy to go overboard because there is just so much material. There are so many idiosyncrasies, there are so many eccentricities of this character that you can very easily go over the top. But KK Menon is such a fine actor that he never goes overboard. Story playing Jayvrat, who's resembling Dr. John Watson's character, is also very good. He is another fine actor, and I'm glad that he's coming back and getting some meaty roles. I wouldn't say that Ranveer's performance is one of the best in the show. I didn't love it as much as I loved some of the other things in the show, but it still doesn't let the level of the show drop. Two more fascinating characters that have been brought to life brilliantly are Mycroft, Sherlock's brother, in this case Murunmoy, and Irene Adler. in this case Iravati, played brilliantly by Rasika Duggal. The two episodes that Rasika Duggal is a part of, or maybe three, but especially two of those, the one where she's introduced and the one where she comes back, are my favorite episodes from this season for sure. Adaptation's great, the setup is fabulous, the characters have been brought to life really well. The actual writing and the narrative, let's talk about that. The way the first season is constructed is very, very thoughtful, and out of the 6 episodes, 5 of these have really tight cases. The 6th one is a mix of flashback as well as current happenings. I'm not calling it a case, but there is still a mystery to it, and possibly one of the biggest mysteries to it. All these cases have been written very, very well. There is enough in each of these to keep you hooked, and you'd want to know what's going to happen and how it's going to get solved. The way each of these cases has been written and the way each of these episodes unfold is another highlight of this show, because it balances the storytelling and the mystery solving along with the characters so beautifully. There is never a moment where one overpowers the other, where there was a lot of scope for that to be done, because you've got such powerful characters in Sherlock Holmes and Watson at one end, as well as Irene Adler, but not once does that happen. The credit to KK Menon's performance, to the writing as well as the direction. In the first season, I've already said my favorite episodes are the ones where Iravati or Irene Adler comes in, Rasika Duggal playing that fascinatingly well. Fir Milenge is the first episode where she comes in and is introduced, and Bhaskar Villa is the second one where she comes back, and hats off and a huge salute to the writing to adapt Hounds of Baskerville to this. I just so happy with how this episode has been written, how this case has been constructed and adapted to this setting. Guys, Aniruddha Guha and Srijit Mukherjee, brilliant, hats off for doing this, because this Hounds of Baskerville is one of my favorite Sherlock stories, and I was very, very concerned when I read that name of the episode, but how beautifully you guys have written this is just so damn cool. I was really happy with that. Hats off. Another episode that I'd like to give a shout out to, I mean, this will be the 3rd out of the 6, so you clearly know that this is a good series and each of these episodes is very good. But again, coming back, the episode that I'd like to give a shout out to is Kahan Chupe Ho Tagore, which is the finale of this season, and it is a very, very good finale. It's surprising, fascinating and intriguing in equal parts. In a show like this, there are so many opportunities for you to pay homage to the original creator of Sherlock Holmes, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, as well as some of the past portrayals of these characters, and this show does that very, very adorably. I don't think I can discuss a lot of these homages in detail because it will give away a lot of the mystery, and I don't want to give out these spoilers. First interaction between Shekhar and Iravati, which is Sherlock and Irene Adler, is beautiful to watch. These two are at the top of their game, KK Menon and Rasika Duggal, and that interaction, that entire episode, I've spoken about this already twice, but their interactions are to die for. Another homage is when finally, at the very end of this season, KK Menon dons the cap as well as the pipe and the coat. I think that is such a nice homage to pay off, and I was really happy and all smiles looking at that. For all the other homages and nuances, you will have to go ahead and watch Shekhar Home on Jio Cinema. It is a fabulous show that most people would love. I'm not stopping here. I still want to talk about a few things that I did not like. I think the overall writing, while it's great and how it adapts these things, it just brings down the level of the mysteries a little too much. I get that we're trying to appeal to a larger audience, but I would have enjoyed it a little more if it wasn't dumbed down to that level. Watson's character or Jayavrat's character is used as just another character to explain what's going on to the audience, and in the most basic terms. So the way it unfolds at times is really slow, and you really want to get on with the narrative and the overall pace of the episode. The thing that I had the most problem with is the overall production and the art direction of this show. I get that there isn't a big budget here. I just feel that the production and art direction, the investment or lack of it, really let down the show in a few episodes for sure. Finale definitely being one of those. The last thing that I did not like was Kirti Kulhari's character. It is not written well at all. It is very, very patchy, and I get in a way why it's written the way it's written and why it's portrayed the way it's portrayed on screen, but it's still not convincing at all. I really feel that a flashback was required here to do more justice to this character, and even if it was written the way it was written, I do not think Kirti Kulhari is being able to don the skin of the character very, very well. But overall, what a show. KK Menon, hats off. Brilliant, brilliant, fabulous. Loved watching every minute that he was on screen, and he was on screen almost throughout. So you know I love this. Hats off Aniruddha Guha once again for creating this and adapting this to this setting. Loved so much about this show. Highly recommend that you go ahead and watch this. It's streaming on Jio Cinema. Shekhar Home. Go watch it right now.